Two guys not related, yet somehow are given the same name. It's time for the Two Daves podcast, where we'll answer the age-old question, are two Daves better than one? And now, here's Dave and Dave.
We are back for another Two Daves episode, and you may be asking yourself, what are these two Daves going to get done in this episode? Well, let me quote from our president who recently said this in an answer to a reporter, and I will just go ahead. I think his answer was so good, Dave, this will answer that. If you try to get something done, if you hold it near and dear to you, then you like to be able to. Anyway, we're ready to get a lot done, and if we have to, and there's complete lockdown and consequences of the filibuster, then we'll have to go beyond what I'm talking about. Hey, I'm Dave.
And I'm the other Dave, and I'm just as confused as I normally am when I watch a press conference. But anyway, but you know what? This ain't tacos. Hey,
that's right.
Friends, please don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and enemies if you like. And also, please comment on whatever platform you happen to be listening to this on. Leave your comments. We're building the Two Daves Nation, and we invite you to be part of this fun-filled journey. Hey, Dave.
Yes.
You know what it's time for?
The floppy show? I don't know what.
Nope. It is now. That's something that only Iowa audiences would
that's
know
true.
what you're talking about.
I'm sorry.
It's time for the Two Daves fact of the day.
Oh boy, I'm ready.
That's right. We do this to help our audience be the best they can be. So here it goes. Here's the 2 days fact of the day. The average adult spends more time on the toilet than they do exercising.
Man.
Yeah. So
that'll wipe you out, won't it?
Oh my. I guess so. Hey,
Did I crack you up, Dave?
Before we go on to what we're talking about tonight, it's time for another on-air correction. Not really a correction, but an explanation.
This is becoming the new norm, Dave, and it's happening on your side, you know.
It really is. Well, you know, we record these several weeks in advance. So today is actually the 30th of March, and it's a Tuesday. So we had an episode drop today, and I listened to it. It was one that we recorded, I believe, on the 25th of January, the 1st of February, something like that. But anyway, something was said that I realized that probably people didn't understand what was going on. And so I just wanted to explain what it was. We were interviewing Matt Fouch. You remember he's the bass singer with Legacy 5 Quartet. What a great interview we had.
It was.
Well, thank you, Matt. He's here too. But Matt was very proud of his Dove Award, and he held it up and showed it to us.
It was cool.
And then I held up my ventriloquist dummy to show him. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I thought at the time that our YouTube listeners would be able to actually see the video. Now, I was wrong, obviously. Those of you who are listening by YouTube can't see what's going on. So I just said, hey, let me show you something. And I held up this ventriloquist dummy, and, you know, we kind of laughed about it and everything. But nobody ever explained what it was I was doing. And I just wanted to let you know that I was not doing anything inappropriate. It was my ventriloquist dummy that was holding up. So anyway.
Well, you know, it takes two dummies to make a ride, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
Now, Dave.
Yes.
If you're listening to us on YouTube, that's a little different than viewing us on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I guess, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know where you're headed here, but
Dave is needing some help. There's a difference between listening on YouTube and watching on YouTube, right?
Well, Well, there's always a difference between listening and watching.
Well, why would you think if we're listening that we could see on YouTube?
Okay, I thought that if you watched on YouTube, you would be able to see what was going on, that the video that we, because we're looking at each other over Zoom. I thought that was going to be broadcast on YouTube. So.
And ladies and gentlemen, I just proved my point. This is what happens when Dave starts thinking. So anyway, well, thanks. I look forward to next week's corrections as well. Hey, you know what? Hey, I just like our podcast listeners. Maybe you could have fun and play along with the two Daves and get a notepad, a pen, and write down the faux pas that the other Dave makes during the show. Put a comment below, and we'll make sure he takes care of it the next time. How's that?
Yes. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
Hey, we're just having fun with one another. You got to understand something. Dave and I are friends for over 30 years, and
long time.
Long time. And I like to say we've, when you're friends that long, you give each other a bad time. So,
you know what? We gave each other a bad time when we first met.
That is true.
I remember the first week we actually met. We were working together at a camp.
Yep.
And you were a youth pastor in Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was pastoring a church in Clarinda, Iowa.
Yep.
And we were sitting together at the back during a service.
Mm.
And all of a sudden you reached over to me and you said, "Dave." And I said, "What?" He said, "You need to shave your ears."
Is that what I said?
That's exactly what you said.
Wow.
So you've been giving me a hard time for a long time now.
Man. I've forgotten that. I mean,
we were just kids, man.
That's impressive.
We were just 10 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, anyway, hey, in our episode today, Dave and I are going to talk about struggles.
Boy, do we have them.
And I think you can tell from the first few minutes of this podcast, we've already had several struggles together. So anyway, before we do that, we want to have some fun again. And we want to talk about another kind of struggle that many would call first world problems. Mm-hmm. Dave, do you have any of those?
I think anybody who lives in the first world deals with first world problems.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, of course, the reason why people call it first world problems is because we have struggles that people who live in the third world can only dream about having.
Yeah. Now, Dave, you and I both have been to third world countries.
Yes.
And what a difference it is. I mean, it is. So, mm-hmm. I mean, these are things that people would not say in third world countries.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I don't want to be too controversial, but I found an article in Psychology Today that basically tells us that you're a terrible person if you talk about people's first world problems.
Your first problem was that you was reading Psychology Today.
That is correct. That is correct. In fact, the title of Psychology Today's article was "Stop Picking on People for Their First World Problems."
By all means.
So I'm going to read just a short section of this article to you and to the listeners. I'm going to. So here's what it said. I can. Yes, I can. Okay. There's nothing worse than having to wait in line at the DMV. Or there's nothing worse than being out and having your phone die. Oh, yes, there is, according to this psychologist. Mm-hmm. Those are actual tweets. So there's nothing worse than having to bury your own child. Mm. There's nothing worse than grates on me as a phrase. Belittling people's concerns as first world problems is a trendy new form of bullying. One problem is that human beings are built to care about the things that happen in our lives. Caring about the little things may well be part of what helps the human race thrive. Ridiculing the first world problem is, in fact, exaggeration of another kind. Mocking people by calling their frustrations first world problems is belittling their concerns in life.
Okay.
Don't pick on people just because it's the trendy thing to do. Don't be a bully, and don't do the things that bullies do. And I stopped there before I had to go throw up in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, I see where he's coming from, because I understand that we all have struggles. I think he's definitely overreaching by calling it bullying when we say first world problems. I think it's just trying to. I think when we talk about first world problems, it's trying to bring our brains back around into reality, where we understand that, it's not all about us. And there's a lot of people that have life worse off than we do. And if we could just be thankful for the situation we're in, be thankful for what we have, it'd be a lot easier to get through life.
Well, let me ask you something, Dave. He says this. He says he's actually saying that when you say, we make fun of somebody that says there's nothing worse than having to wait in line at the DMV, or there's nothing worse than being out and having your own phone die, then he makes this ridiculous statement. Yeah. He says, so it's the same as there is nothing worse than having to bury your own child. That's not a first world problem. That's a real problem.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where he was coming from there. Yeah.
Oh, well, let me, we're not a Bible study, but we bring the word of God into this, and I'm going to do it right here. 1 Thessalonians, it says this: rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, which those are very difficult things to do, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Dave, here's my whole, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? This is what I'm kind of coming up with as a response to this, okay?
Your thesis.
Yeah. First world problems is not bullying to a point. It's complaining about things we take for granted and being unthankful in life for the things that we get to do or have that others don't have or others don't get to do. Would you agree or not agree?
Yeah. In a nutshell, a first world problem is really most often a very dumb inconvenience.
Yes.
While they technically are real problems, just like Dave said, they're just really old-fashioned complaints. I was talking about earlier, it's just kind of a lack of gratefulness and thankfulness. Yeah. They don't pose any major disturbance or life-threatening outcome, and they are for sure entertaining, and they really reveal how stupid they really sound if you really stop and think about it. So that's why Dave and I want to talk about some of these first world problems. So hold on tight to your socks right now, because these may hit home with you, okay? These are common first world problems, and we're just going to kind of alternate here, throwing out some first world problems, okay?
That sounds good.
Here's the first one. Where should I put this pizza box now? It doesn't fit in the fridge.
I have that problem.
Oh, yeah.
First
really
world problem. Yeah.
You know what, though, with me, there's no such thing as leftover pizza.
Well, I like cold pizza, so I don't eat much of the hot stuff. I wait till it's cold.
Do you put ketchup on it?
No.
My wife puts ketchup on cold pizza.
Well, I can't help that she has an issue there, but yeah.
Well, she married me.
Yes. Now, you're not bullying somebody if you're giving somebody a bad time. I mean, just think about, go to Haiti. Where have you been, third world, Dave? You've been to Haiti. You've been to other places.
Haiti, Honduras, and Bangladesh.
Okay. Make these comments.
What?
Do these comments make sense in those places?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. A lot of those places I've been to, they wouldn't know what a pizza box is, and they wouldn't even know what a fridge is.
No. Here's one. I was stuck in traffic for 30 minutes. What a day.
That hits home. Yeah.
My son, who has to commute every day in Orlando. Sometimes he's on the road for 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day commuting. That would drive me up a wall.
How about this one? I want food from the back of the fridge, but it's blocked by all the food in the front of the fridge.
Yep, I've had that. You know what I say? I look at my 16-year-old and say, honey, come over here, please, would you? And bend over because dad can't bend over like he used to. And would you reach that back there for me? Oh, well. Here's a good one. This happens a lot on Sundays for us. I'm so tired of eating at the same restaurant.
Oh boy. Yep. You know, in a really small community such as ours, that's a common complaint, and it's first world problem. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. While third world problems are you're looking for food to eat, you know?
Boy, I tell you what, I could tell you stories.
What else do you have?
The tap water doesn't taste very good here. Now I have to drive to the convenience store and buy some bottled water.
Yep. I can't believe. I'm sure most of our listeners have said something like that before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Here's one. I love this one because I just heard it the other day. My smartphone is too big for the pockets of my pants.
Well, you know, I've seen some smartphones that look like laptops.
Oh, yeah.
How about this? I just bought a pair of new shoes, but I don't want to use them because they might get dirty.
They sound ridiculous, don't they? Here's another one. I have more clothes than hangers.
Yeah. Now listen, you are bullying now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I am. I'm sure. Only to my wife.
Oh, Dave, this is so frustrating. Trying to decide which soda to refill, at the drink machine. Man, I tell you what, it's frustrating.
That is bad.
It is.
That is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one. My phone charger cable isn't long enough to reach me when I lay down on the couch.
Yeah. Man, I have to sit up. Oh, here we go. Oh, there's too much ice in my iced coffee that I got from Starbucks. Take it back.
Yeah, I hear people from Haiti say that all the time. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. If there's too much ice, I'm taking it back. Yep.
Yeah. Here's one. You know what? I go to Starbucks probably a couple times a week, Dave. I get an iced tea and I get some egg bites. You don't even have a Starbucks in your place. You have to go down, an hour away from you, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's crazy. But I hear people's complaints about their Starbucks drinks that they paid $5 for. I mean, Oh boy. Okay.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Starbucks fan. And the reason why is the price you pay. I would just as soon make a pot of coffee at home and just drink it that way. I don't like all the frou-frou stuff anyway. I just like a black cup of coffee. So that's just me.
That's a first world problem right there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Uh-huh.
How about this? The Wi-Fi signal in my home isn't super great in some of the rooms.
Yeah, you have to buy some more strength. Get another router.
What else do you have?
Oh, man, that's the third time I've burned my tongue on caramel macchiato this week. Oh,
oh, those people do need to be bullied right there. Just want to slap them. I like this one. All these clothes, and I just don't know what to wear today.
That's common, isn't it?
These are fun.
My Coke fizzed too much when I poured it into my glass. Does that sound familiar?
Well, are you familiar with Culver's at all?
Yes, of course.
So Culver's has what I think some of the best diet root beer around.
Okay.
And I'm telling you what, first world problems, it just takes over my life when I go in there because I get a large drink and I'm like, I'm ready for this and I'm thirsty. It's usually after church or whatever. And I go in there put ice in it, and it's so foamy. And I'm like, and as people come around me, I feel like I have to make excuses people are waiting to get their stuff. And I'm like, this stupid foam, what's going, it's just.
Well, I think probably everybody who's been listening to this knows that I like ginger ale, right?
Yes.
I have to drink it out of a can.
And Dan Quayle, right?
Yeah. I can't pour it into a glass, because if I pour it into the glass, it fizzes up and it tickles my nose and I start coughing when I drink it.
I don't even want to comment on that.
Yeah. Go ahead. You do the next one.
Oh, I just had a cup of tea with my soy milk. It was one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life.
You know what? I agree. But first world problem, definitely. How about this one? Peeling pomegranates has to be one of the most painstaking tasks in the world.
Oh man. How about here's the one. Had to turn down the brightness on the iPad because it hurt my eyes so much.
Hate that first world problem.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
Oh man. Hey, I had too much truffle oil. Did you know it's a laxative?
That's what you get.
Yeah.
Oh, truffle oil. That stuff's gross.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is.
It comes from truffles.
Oh, from truffles, of course.
I can't believe I bought a toaster with no bagel settings.
Oh man, that's a dumb problem, man. I say I feel like such a bully tonight.
Oh man.
All right. I took such a long shower this morning that the hot water ran out.
Oh, yep. Have you ever complained about that?
Yeah.
A half hour later after I'm taking a shower, still taking a shower.
Dave,
yeah.
I was in a third world country and I went in to take a shower and there was no such thing as hot water. And
did you first world problem it?
Oh, I didn't know what I was going to do. And then it wasn't just the fact that I didn't have any hot water, but there was a cockroach in the bathtub the size of Montana. And I thought, dear Lord, get me back home to Kansas. First world problems.
That's like your little battleship thing. The bug that was just
yeah.
Like, I got to tell you, when I was in Haiti, the first thing they said is do not drink the water. And when you take a shower, don't let the water go in your mouth. And I'm like, and this sounds really stupid, but Dave, when I went there, I think I was 47. Okay. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, how am I going to take a shower then?
First world problem.
So when I get in there, I'm like closing my mouth real tight and my eyes and I have a bottled water, to rinse myself off afterwards. They tell you to do that, a couple bottled waters to pour over your head and everything. Oh man, made me go home and just realize how stupid I am.
How stupid. Yep.
You have, do I have am I in the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. The restaurant didn't have Coke, so I had to order Pepsi instead.
Oh man, that's too bad.
It's terrible.
How about this one? This is something that came out of my mouth. The elevator at this hotel is so slow. I may just have to take the stairs.
Confession time tonight, Dave. I've probably said more of those things than I should. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, I know. They really hit home.
They do. Okay, Dave. In the words of Nacho Libre, it's time to get down to the nitty gritty. Struggles are something that we all go through, and they're a little like Baskin Robbins ice cream. There's many flavors to choose from. So we're hoping that tonight, when we talk about some of our struggles, we don't want to just, highlight us. But
we don't want to make it about us.
No, we want to let some of you know that we're with you in those struggles. And there's a lot of people that go through struggles and they never talk to anybody. So we're just dumb enough to talk about it and do it on YouTube and Spotify and all that. So anyway, we're hoping that we can relate with some of you, or you can relate with us as we talk about this. And
now wait a minute. You mentioned
Okay.
on YouTube. Will the YouTube subscribers be able to see this or just hear it?
Oh boy, here we go again. Hear it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Did I say see?
I don't know. I was just being me.
I hate it when I watch YouTube and I can't see the people on podcast.
I know it. What's the point of YouTube?
That's first world problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just too many words.
Too many. Yeah. You don't want to see us anyway, people.
Yeah. Hey, listen, what is a struggle anyway? Well, by definition, a struggle is the process or an act or instance of struggling. It's a war, fight, conflict, or contest of any kind, a task or a goal requiring much effort to accomplish or achieve. And one of the problems we deal with when it comes to struggles is becoming too prideful to admit we are struggling inside. And
that's true.
Why is that? Why do we have a hard time admitting that we're struggling?
You said it right there. I think the pride, we want people to think we have our act together, right?
We got it all together. Yep.
While we drowned inside. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yep. You bet.
So we struggle by ourselves.
Yeah. And that makes things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So another problem with struggles is this: the inside struggles, at first, they're inside, but eventually they're going to be seen on the outside if we fail to work through whatever struggles. And I've noticed that when I have finally decided to deal with some struggles that I was going through, that the people closest to me already knew that I was struggling with it. Yeah. Because it became evident. Yeah, you can no longer
try to hide that stuff on when it comes to the outside. It's because you can't keep any more on the inside.
Yeah.
So, so I think the last thing to mention about struggle, Dave, is just getting to the point of where we're willing to admit it. The struggles are way far bigger than you and I can deal with on our own. And God never intended us to deal with these struggles by ourselves. He wants us to go to Him, right?
Yes, He's created us to be spiritual, and He's created us to be social.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, we're going to talk about some struggles, and I don't know who wants to go first.
You go first.
Okay, I'll go first then. My first struggle for a long time and even today, and I feel like I gain, Dave, let me just admit this. Some days I feel like I have victory in these areas, and some days I don't. So that's just being honest, okay?
Is it a struggle with your ministry to truck stop waitresses?
No, I'm good at. No,
you're good at that. Okay.
Yeah. You're trying to get me in trouble, Dave, and I'm not going to let you get me in trouble. So, first one is my struggle with self-image, and
sure. I think probably a lot of people who are listening, all four of those people who are listening, can probably identify with you in some way in that area.
Yeah, and if our YouTube viewers could see us, they would look at you and go, "Yes, I believe he's got self-image issues."
That's right. We both have faces that are made for radio.
Hey, now seriously, yes, we do. I have to remind myself that God is more interested in my inside image than He is on the outside image. And Scripture reminds me that man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart. So I can, I don't know if you've seen this, Dave, but I've seen a lot of beautiful people, and you would go, wow, I wish, I had a physique like them. I wish, I had the clothes they had, and, they were all that. But many of those people are the most unhappiest or ugliest people in the world on the inside.
Yeah.
So, that's a struggle for me. First of all, I've been overweight, a lot of my life. And I do feel better when I lose my weight, and I still have a long ways to go. And I like putting on clothes that actually make me not look, like Fat Albert and all that kind of stuff. Hey, yes. And
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. But, with self-image, I get it. I do want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want to be, more physically fit, more mentally fit, spiritually fit, and relationally fit. But I realize that even my physical body is determined by my inside, my mental state, because that's where, for me to make the right decisions, that's not happening on the outside, that's happening on the inside. And first and foremost, I have to be grateful for who God made me. So, Dave, what do you have to say about self-image? I know we're sharing, but do you have any comments on that at all?
I think, first of all, I think that all of these struggles, I don't think that there are any easy answers. And I don't know about your struggle. I don't know what you're sharing tonight, but I know that the struggles that I'm sharing are lifelong struggles.
Yes.
And, but I think that there's some things to remember in each of these. And when it comes to self-image, it's important for us to see ourselves the way God sees us.
Yeah.
And God did not make some people better than others.
No,
he did not. I know sometimes you look at somebody who just has movie star good looks and you go, why did they wind up with all that, and did he run out before he got to me? But you got to realize
he did, by the way. Yes, he did, by the way, for you. Yes.
But God did not make anybody better than anyone else. And he sees us as somebody who's incredible, who's very precious in his sight. And I think if we just start to see ourselves the way God sees us, rather than the way we see ourselves in the mirror, it's just a whole lot easier to deal with that.
Yeah. And, here's another issue, I think, Dave, is that we're two guys talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys don't talk. They don't share these kind of things. And it's very difficult for a man to share self-image issues. But I guarantee you, we have many listeners out there that right now they would say, yeah, that's me. I don't like this about myself, or, I don't feel good about myself. And, it impacts the way you live.
And, for years, we've heard that women and girls deal with this issue more than men and boys. I don't think that's true.
No,
I think they're the ones who are more willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think men struggle with it every bit as much as ladies do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's a struggle that, I don't know, I'll probably carry it all the way to, the end of this life. But I have to do certain things. And one, the biggest thing I can do is just be grateful for who God made me to be.
Yeah.
And gratefulness will help keep away those first world issues for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, I guess that's my first struggle, Dave.
Okay. Well, I'll share my first struggle that I have written down. And by the way, as we always do when we make these lists, I don't know that there's one I don't know that, these are numbered in order of importance. It's just the order in which we wrote them down. Exactly. My first struggles was shyness. And honestly, people who know me are really surprised and even think I'm joking when I say that I've struggled with shyness all my life. But that is absolutely the truth. And it is a lifelong struggle. It's the earliest struggle I could ever remember having. I mean, I remember 4 years old, and we didn't have preschool in our day. We had the public library, offered story hour. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
So I'm 4 years old. This was 50 years ago. And my mom takes me to the public library in Centralia, Missouri, where we were living. And I went in and all the kids are seated on the floor, ready for the story. And I stood up against the wall. And, the story hour librarians wanted me to come and sit with the other kids. My mom tried to get me to sit with the other kids. Shoot, my best friend was there and he was sitting with the other kids, not me. And that went on, I don't know, story hour lasts 6 weeks? To me, it seemed like 6 years, but I never did sit with the other kids. I was always against the wall. And I've dealt with shyness all of my life. And finally, when I was 17 years old, not 16, I was too shy to go out and get a job when I was 16. But finally, at the age of 17, the summer in between my junior and senior years in high school, my parents forced me to go out and find a job. So I went and got a job at the local grocery store. And I'll tell you what, it was one of the best things for me because we were supposed to be friendly. It was Hy-Vee. And you worked at Hy-Vee.
I worked at Hy-Vee, yeah.
Yeah. You remember what the motto was?
There's a helpful smile in every aisle.
That's right. I always have to stop and ask myself what that is because we always said there's a healthy pile in every aisle. But it's a helpful smile. It's a helpful smile in every aisle. And so I had to be one of those helpful smiles. And I had to force myself to come out of my shell and be friendly with people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I think Hy-Vee was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. I still deal with shyness. It's still a real struggle. And I have to force myself to meet people. I have to force myself to be friendly. And I know that some people probably think that I'm aloof and probably some people think I'm snotty. That has nothing to do with it. It's just a real struggle. And I am a classic introvert. And I know that some people think that introverts mean that they are loners and they never like to be with people. That's not the truth. I love to be with people that I know, but you have to determine what energizes you and what drains you. And for me, even though I like being with people that I know, that experience drains me. I like for example, here's an example. We host in our home about every other Sunday night. We host a home fellowship group, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
What is a home fellowship group, Dave? For some of our listeners, maybe they don't know what that is.
Sure. We just have people that come in and we eat together. We tell stories, we laugh, and then I share from the word, and we pray together, and we just have a great time. But every time we have one of those, when it's all over, I am exhausted. I mean, I am just beat down.
Yeah.
And it's because even though I enjoyed that and wouldn't trade it for the world, it drains me. I'm charged when I'm at home by myself or with my family. Yeah. That charges me. And so an extrovert is kind of the opposite. Being by themselves drains them, and and you're an extrovert, aren't you?
What do you think?
I think you are. You there's not a shy bone in your body. You talk to a tree.
I have. I just did today. You know what the tree told me?
What's that?
To leave.
Yeah.
Because I was barking up the wrong tree. So whatever.
Oh boy, did I open a door for you. But honestly, Dave, you've been a role model for me because I've seen you over the years. I've seen how you talk to people and how you ask questions and you are relational with people. And I've watched you do that, and I've forced myself to do that same thing with people, and because I really do love people, and I really do care about them. It's very hard for me to come out of my shell and visit with new people. So,
you look at you're wore out after having people, mm-hmm. I get that. Mm-hmm. For me as somewhat of an extrovert, which I would agree, mm-hmm. that you become vulnerable to people. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think some people don't get. When you're that vulnerable to people, you put yourself sometimes in situations that people can take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, and that deals with my fourth struggle, which I'll talk about later. But yeah.
Oh, well, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think I knew you were shy, but when you develop a relationship like we have, friendship and stuff, but we both called in ministry, and that just tells you God calls people different with different personalities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He uses them all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
Well, the scripture says that God calls the weak things of the world to confound the wise. And so I've always realized that the call of God in the ministry isn't because you're special. It's because he's special, and he'll take a weak vessel and do some amazing things through it. So
that's truth right there. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would bring me to my second struggle.
Now, what's that?
Well, my second struggle, you would think being an extrovert that you got friends galore and all that kind of stuff. But my second struggle, well, I do, but my second struggle is with loneliness.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's very interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes, and you know this as a pastor, and I love helping people. As a Christian, you want to help people, right?
Yeah.
So you help, but that means you give and you give and you give. Yeah. And sometimes you don't have reciprocating friendships. Mm-hmm. And there's times that, you live a state away. Yeah. So if we were closer together, I'd be coming over to your house and saying, let's go to Applebee's, get something to, eat, and let's talk, or let's go on a road trip or something. But I have friends, and I'm not trying to put my friends down. That's not what I'm saying. But there's sometimes I just get lonely. Sure. And, being an only child, I wonder if that has something to do with it as well. I don't know. I really don't know. But, ministry can be an awful lonely place at times. There's a lot of pastors out there right now, people in ministry, that they're struggling because, especially during the COVID time and everything else, they feel like they're on an island all by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one thing that I remember that I was taught as a pastor for many years was you can't be friends with the people in your church. And that really makes a person lonely, because and then eventually I came to that point where I said, that's ridiculous. Of course you can be friends with the people in your church.
Sure.
And I've pastored some of the greatest people in the world. Yeah. And why would I not be their friend? But I can understand how that, when you're fed that mentality, that can set you up for loneliness.
Yeah, I'm close to our people at church. And that's why I say, for me to really kind of describe this, it's tough, because there's just times I'm lonely. I mean, sometimes I don't have anybody, first world problem here. Okay. And sometimes I don't have anybody that I can talk to about going golfing with. Mm-hmm. And I don't like going by myself all the time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. It should be a social activity. Yeah.
Yeah. Just certain things like that. But God's good. Sometimes my wife's able to go with me, or my daughter. But I'm getting ready to go on vacation and get to go spend time with my boys and go play golf with them. So that's going to be a nice time, So anyway, that's a struggle. Again, I think some of these struggles are hard to pinpoint the reason. That's why I think it's hard for the solutions at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I make any sense there, but did that surprise you?
Well, initially it did, but no, I can see how you're kind of built for loneliness. And as a matter of fact, I can see how many extroverts would deal with loneliness, because you need that relationship, I think, more than an introvert does. So,
Yeah. I need more than just the phone call.
Yeah.
At times, I need to be around people that. All right. I got to my second one. I think I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, here's my second one.
All right.
And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with shyness, but my second struggle is with insecurity. And that's also been a lifelong struggle, that I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
Insecurity kept me throughout the years from involving myself in things that other people in my peer group would involve themselves in. I was never in sports when I was in school. I wanted to go out for basketball, but I just didn't think I was good enough. I wanted to, in our denomination, the youth have something called Fine Arts Festival, a way for people to display their talents. When we were kids, it wasn't Fine Arts Festival. What was it?
Teen talent.
Teen talent. That's right. Yeah. And the only thing you could do, you could either sing or you could play an instrument.
Yep.
And I could do both. I could sing well, and I played the trombone, and I played the trombone very well, but I didn't think I was good enough. And really? I was too scared. I never involved myself in teen talent, never once. And if I would have done it, I would have done well. But the absolute fear of failure crippled me, and I just never involved myself in that kind of stuff. And today, you're talking about golf. Do you know, I don't want to make you feel bad, but do you know that the two of us, we've only golfed together one time?
Yeah, I know.
And the reason why this isn't, again, it's not to make you feel bad. You are so good at the game, and I am so not good, that to go golfing with somebody who's that good is intimidating. And so I think, I just pull him down. I just drag him down. So that's really the reason why. So.
You know why I like golfing, Dave? I compete with myself. I don't compete with somebody else. I love the fellowship, the camaraderie that you get.
Yeah.
So, because that's more memorable than the game itself.
Yeah, exactly. And really, that's the only reason why I go golfing. I'm not good at it, but I just enjoy. We have a guy here in our community that I go golfing with, and he's also much better than I am. But I just for the fellowship is the only reason why I do it. Yeah.
Next time I come up there, I'll bring my clubs. We'll go. Let's
do it, man. Let's do it.
Bowling would be a hoot, wouldn't it?
Bowling would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, insecurities. I can't believe there's one person in this world that would say, I don't have insecurity. I think we all have insecurities, absolutely. But I think for some, they're almost debilitating. Almost, they're like fear that comes over us, like you say, fear of rejection, fear of failure, and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It can. I think that's why failure is not final with God. It's there's a lot of things that people have done that they failed in, but He didn't look at them and go, "You're a failure."
Yeah,
we can fail God and turn our back on God, but and
we can use,
that's interesting.
We can use different mechanisms too to deal with it. And let me just give you this an example. Years ago, I preached to our youth group on that subject of insecurity, and I basically shared my testimony about how insecure I was and am, and dealt with that. And I always used to put blurbs on Facebook to promote what we're doing. And I had a high school classmate who got on there and said, wow, I've known you for years and years and years, and I never would have guessed that you had insecurities. And I thought that was very interesting because, and we were friends, but I was able to master that. And I've always used humor, and I'm a loud person, I'm loud and boisterous. And I just kind of use that to kind of mask those insecurities. And sometimes that's okay. But I think sometimes when we're masking our struggles, that's not really healthy either. We need to deal with the struggles without masking them.
I agree. Yeah. I think we're really good at masking them, at self-medicating ourselves.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Number 3, and this is one that I'm sure you can relate to, Dave, and that is finding some kind of balance in my life.
Oh, yes. Oh, I can definitely identify.
My question after all these years is this: where is that balancing point? Where's it at?
Yeah.
And as I read scripture, I don't know, I can't find the word balance in there really.
Really?
And yeah. I don't really even know if that's our goal, is to find balance, but
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you look up balanceth?
No, I did not. I should look. Help. King James might help us with that, right? Well,
yeah.
I'll do that after this podcast, and then I'll make a comment like you make a comment every, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, but balance.
I heard Dan Quayle talk one time about the importance of balance. Yeah.
I've often thought of, when we look at balance, we think balance is taking take a pole and then put something in the exact middle of it, and there you're going to find your balance, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But sometimes balance is not in the middle. Balance is maybe towards the end of that, because there's so much weighing on one end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I hear you.
It's kind of like, the old cliche, God won't give you more than you can handle, is a lie. It's a joke.
A lie. Yeah, absolutely. The Bible does not say that.
No. And he's, I think he gives us way more than we can handle so that we can lean on him. And that's why I say sometimes it's not the middle point where you find balance. It's towards the end of it, where God wants to take all that stuff from us. Yeah. But it's difficult at times, because I also want to add balance. My balance means my work schedule's going to be equal to my time spent with my wife, and my time spent with my kids, and my time spent in doing some leisure things and all that. That's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. Sometimes my family needs me way more than my job needs me.
Yeah.
And sometimes my job needs me way more. And sometimes I need myself more than other times. I need to go and I need to just get away. I need to, relax and whatever it is that I need to do. Yeah. So I don't know. What about you, Dave, when it comes to balance? Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Balancing time, balancing priorities, activities, it's a high wire act.
It is. Those circus acts, that's what I feel like I'm doing at times. I'm in a circus act. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it. I can only maintain it for so long.
Yeah.
And I think maybe God allows that to happen so that we realize, Dave, you really can't balance that thing by yourself.
Yeah.
You can't balance life.
That's right. You need to hire an associate.
I do. Well, come on.
Yeah. All right. You heard it, folks.
I need somebody that's shy. Trying to think what else.
Insecure. Good looking.
Well, I was on the pathway for you, but not after that comment, no.
Oh, man. Back to being insecure, man.
That's right. I don't want any. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Your turn.
All right. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I decided that it might be good to ask my wife, the closest person to me, what do you think my biggest struggle is? And it was kind of hard for her to narrow it down to kind of one issue. So I'm going to kind of put it all together here. Letting go of the past, moving on, and forgiving. That's what she identified as a struggle. And I would agree with her. That's tough. It's hard to have victory over some of the things that I've had to deal with over the last few years, and move on and push off labels, and realize that the only label that matters is child of God.
Yes.
And that is tough to do. It's tough to forgive people who have wronged me. It's tough to forgive myself for putting myself in situations where I could be wronged. And just when and I know I was on your in closing several months ago talking about this area of forgiveness, that just when you think you've mastered forgiveness, the next day you wake up and you want to kill them again.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that is a lifelong struggle for me.
She probably read my mail too then, because I think a lot of people face that, Dave, but if they only knew the story behind all those things.
Yeah.
And again, we're in a process. We're not in a one-time event. Forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's
no, far from it. It is. It's a process. And I think it's one of those things you brought out earlier, the misnomer. People say that God won't give you anything more than you can handle. And the truth is that he gives us a lot more than we can handle, so we can turn to him. I think forgiveness is one of those issues. If it was a one-time event that we could conquer on our own, then we wouldn't need God. But forgiveness is a huge thing that I can't do on my own. I cannot unilaterally forgive someone, especially someone who has never sought my forgiveness, who has never apologized.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difficult thing to do, but it does not relieve me of my responsibility to do so. But thank God he's there to help us every step of the way.
That's good. I think a lot of people listening can relate to that, Dave.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a real deep issue right there. I think it makes us realize how powerful the forgiveness of Christ is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
definitely.
Yeah. There's
one of these days we'll take a whole episode and we'll kind of talk about my story and why I deal with that, why that's one of my struggles, but that's down the road.
Yeah. That'll be good. That'll be real good.
Yeah.
I think my last struggle is kind of, it's one I hope other people can relate to, because I don't want to be the only one that has this, but.
Is it homosexuality?
No, it is not, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Dave, you're going to have another comment next week to talk about.
What is it, Dave?
Oh my goodness. Mine is this, having a friend that has a ventriloquist dummy. No, it's not. It's not.
That's a huge struggle. That's a real struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My struggle is making sure that I do my life and it's not about Dave Martin. And that's a real struggle for me.
So in other words, what you're saying is to live your life without a selfish slant, without a self-serving type of a slant.
Yeah. I mean, I take, being a pastor, being a Christian, being a father, all that, real seriously. I know I have issues. Okay. I know that. I just want to make sure that my life has mattered, not because of Dave Martin, but because of Jesus Christ living within me. So, I don't know about you, but there's sometimes I have to go, am I making this about me or am I making this about the Lord?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a story about my wife's grandmother, Mildred. God bless her. She's in heaven. Great lady. I just came into her life at the wrong time. My wife, when I met my wife, her grandfather, who she was very, very close to, passed away just less than 9 months, I believe, when I met her. And because of that, and he died of cancer, and it was just a really sad thing. Mm-hmm. Because of that, she spent a lot of time over at Grandma Mildred's house.
Sure.
Then Dave Martin shows up on the scene. And, I've told this story. 6 weeks later, we're engaged. Okay.
Yes.
9 months later, we're 10 months, whatever, we're married. And I think she takes it as I'm trying to take her granddaughter away from her.
Uh-huh.
So she started making comments, and she says, Dave, you just think you're the center of attention. And she said that a lot. And one of the Christmases, I made an apron, and there was an older lady, and she's pointing her finger at a guy that was making hamburgers on the grill. And I made a caption that said, Dave, you're just the center of attention. She was there. I think that apron's still in the family. It's a treasured gift. But I remember one day I walked in in my wife's farmhouse, and I was behind my one brother-in-law, soon to be brother-in-law, and all of a sudden Mildred said, Dave, you think you're just the center of attention? I hadn't said one word. I hadn't said one word. Now, I'm going to tell you, Mildred and I had words with one another, but I love her, and she was a godly woman, and I appreciate her. Those words, though, have come back to haunt me at times. Because I'm somebody, Dave, who likes to have fun. I'm willing to make a fool of myself. I'm willing to just, do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And in church, I'm willing to say things, and I just, I love to have fun with people. And sometimes I hear those words, Dave, you're just the center of attention. And it's a struggle at times for me, because if you don't watch it, you begin to believe some of that stuff. And I want my motives and my everything I do to be right. I'm just being honest with you here tonight.
Sure.
So that's my last struggle I want to talk about. But I want my life to make a difference, and I want my life to mean something. But I want it to mean something and make a difference, not because Dave Martin was trying to be Dave Martin, but because God was inside of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I think we are naturally built with that feature that looks out for number one. And, I say we're built with that. I'm not saying that God gives us that. I'm saying, we're all born into sin. And so therefore we're born with that selfish nature. So I think every one of us struggles with that. I know I certainly do, trying to be the world revolves around us, and that's tough.
First world problems at times.
First world
That's
problems.
why.
Yep.
That's right. Sometimes it is Dave Martin, the center of attention. I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be that way all the time.
Somebody said, actually, it was Alice Roosevelt who said about her father, Theodore Roosevelt, that she says, my father has to be the corpse at every funeral and the bride at every wedding. And
that's funny. That is real funny.
Of TR from everything I've read about him. And I think it's a good description of a lot of people that I know, especially people in ministry.
Oh, man.
Just Lord, I don't want it to be about me, but that's tough. Yeah.
I think Dan Quayle said, sometimes I have to be a swan and sometimes I have to be a quail.
Well, Dan Quayle also said, how do you spell potato? All right. Anyway, let me give you my last one. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, as I already referred, but my fourth struggle is with openness. I tend to be a closed book, and just what I'm doing here tonight, I wouldn't have done this a year ago. Just sharing with you and with everybody all four people who are listening. I don't like to talk about my struggles. I don't like to do that at all. And I mean, I don't even like to, it's a difficult thing for me to share my struggles with my own wife.
Mm.
And so there were times, when we were in our younger days in marriage, when we would all of a sudden, I would realize that we were having some financial difficulties. Rather than sit down and talk with her about it, I felt like if I talked to her about it, that I would be showing a side of me that was weak to my wife. And so therefore I would deal with those issues without ever even talking to her about it. Just that secrecy and that lack of openness. And that lack of openness has gotten me in trouble on a number of occasions, because I realize that when there's a struggle, I think that, as you said, I've got it all together. At least I'm supposed to have it all together. And if I tell somebody else that I'm struggling in a particular area, I have destroyed the myth that I've got it all together. And as I said earlier, most of the time when we actually finally come clean with somebody, tells people our struggles, they already know we don't have it all together because they've already figured it out.
That's right.
So yeah. So anyway, that's my fourth struggle.
I figured that about you. I know you.
Yeah, you know me. Yeah.
That's people that are like that. They don't like to hug.
Yeah, that's right. And I am not what am I trying to say? A tactile person at all. I just prefer to keep people at arm's length. Yep.
Your love language isn't
physical touch
or feely, words or whatever.
No, not at all. Which is interesting because all three of my girls are the opposite. They love to hug, and that's okay. I love to hug my kids.
Yeah.
I love to, I cuddle with them and everything, but just the average person on the street, this quarantine thing and the social distancing is like gift from God for me. Somebody said, we're not going to shake hands anymore. We're going to fist bump. I'm like, I'm all over that.
Yeah. That's funny because when you're in a marriage that one person's that way and the other person's the other way, your love language is in what you give and what you receive is totally different, usually from the other person. So there's a lot of give and take in that relationship. Sometimes really you have to do things, and not that you're going to fake it until you make it type of thing, but it's more of a challenge.
That's right. Well, and that definitely goes out of the realm of what we're talking about. But when we're talking about love languages, you don't want just the person you're married to speak in your language, but you have to learn to speak in their language. Yeah. And so I know that it means so much to my wife, for me, when we're walking down the street, excuse me, for me to reach out and hold her hand. Now I can go for an entire walk and never hold her hand, and it doesn't bother me a bit, but I know that she likes that. And so when I reach out and hold her hand, it means so much more to her. So I'm speaking her language. I remember there was one time in church when I reached out and held her hand, and she broke down and cried. It was just the most precious thing to her. And I thought, wow, something that small, but it's speaking her language. And, she's learned to speak my language too. So that's why we've been together for 30 years. So.
It's give and take. That's funny because my wife she's not touchy-feely type person, and I'm like, I need her to tell me she loves me, and I need a hug from her and hold my hand and give me a kiss and blah. Oh boy, I'm surprised she stayed with me as long as she has.
Me too, because that's got to be a real struggle, man.
Oh man,
I feel for her.
Oh well, this has been good talk. I hope we haven't solved any issues, but I think Dave and I really wanted to just share these things because some of you out there, you're going through struggles that maybe other people you're not shared with. Mm-hmm. And so we're there, and we want to just let you know you're not there by yourself. There's other people that are struggling, and
exactly.
I think that helped.
Yeah. And if this episode has meant something to you, please comment.
Yeah.
On the platform on which you're listening to this.
Do.
And And if you need to reach out to somebody, send us a message on our Facebook, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. So anyway, thanks again for joining us and for doing life with us for this short time. And as always, if you enjoyed this podcast, and even if you didn't, we would ask that you subscribe or share this podcast with your friends. And again, comment. Let us know what you think. That's the only way that we know what you're thinking, is if you comment. So until next time, remember that 2 Daves are always better than one.